Good morning and welcome back to Rising. I am very happy to be back with you all this Tuesday morning. We, of course, have another fantastic show for you today. Robby, what is on tap?
Well, welcome back, Briahna. Today we'll discuss the real reason that airlines are canceling flights constantly. It's very annoying if you've been trying to travel. And then we'll discuss the feud between Nancy Pelosi and new GOP Representative Mayra Flores. Also, Trita Parsi will weigh in on why he thinks President Biden is doomed in the Middle East. But first, this is a terrible story. 46 migrants were found dead in a semi-truck outside of San Antonio. 12 adults and 4 children additionally have been hospitalized for heat-related injuries. Now, sources say it's a suspected human trafficking, human smuggling event. San Antonio's police chief gave details on what they found in the truck. Let's watch that.
The patients that we saw were hot to the touch. They were suffering from heat stroke, heat exhaustion, no signs of water in the vehicle. It was a refrigerated tractor trailer, but there was no visible working AC unit on that rig. We're not supposed to open up a truck and see stacks of bodies in there. None of us come to work imagining that.
The San Antonio police chief then spoke to reporters with updates on the investigation.
We have 3 people in custody. We don't know if they are absolutely connected to this or not. This investigation has been turned over to HSI. It is now a federal investigation. Turned it over to them about probably 2 hours ago.
San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg called the incident a horrific human tragedy. As Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas tweeted that he is heartbroken by the loss of life, adding that far too many lives have been lost on this dangerous journey.
That's terrible.
Yeah, incidents like this, I mean, they do foreground the lengths that people will go to try to find a better life. And I know that any incident like this is probably going to be broken down on an ideological basis. People will say it's a very bad loss of life, but at the end of the day, people shouldn't break the law. Other people will say, put the onus and focus more on the human traffickers and their negligence here. But I do think it's worth thinking about the fact that we do live in a global community where situations are so constrained and people's lives are so inadequate, in large part because of the role of our own global hegemony, that people do feel like these kinds of risks are risks they're willing to take in order to find better lives for themselves. And it's a tragedy like this really does underscore, I think, the level of inequality in the world, at least from a left perspective.
Yeah, it's just terrible. The conditions for people coming here for crossing the border, coming here illegally, are really bad, and people are dying all the time. And I mean, this agent talked about, imagine opening up a truck and finding new stacks of bodies of people who had died miserably from heat exhaustion. It's just horrible. It is a policy failure. It's something. The desperation these people must feel to think that gambling with their lives this way is their best option rather than remain in wherever they're coming from. I think some of them were coming from Guatemala. It's really telling about the lengths the desperation people feel to come to this country in search of a better life. And obviously there's more to talk about on the policy side of it. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, so he went straight for Biden, slamming the president over his deadly open border policies. The administration is reportedly taking steps to disrupt human smuggling networks amid the heavy migration at the border. Secretary Mayorkas told CNN that the operation deploys hundreds of personnel throughout Latin America and includes the FBI and DOJ to attack smuggling organizations. So obviously, it's not. We do not have an open border policy.
Yeah, help me understand the logic of that. That if there's an open border, people need to be smuggled across the border in such extreme conditions.
Right. It doesn't make sense at all. Immigration is an issue where I'm probably most out of step with where the right is today among basically all issues, because I do want to have more liberal immigration policies, just like the GOP of 15 years ago. Yeah. And I would say to conservatives, there's a lot of conservatives don't often rightly, in my view, recognize that you can have a government policy, but that doesn't mean it's going to work. That doesn't mean it's false. I talk about that a lot with guns. Well, you can say you want, when I'm criticizing progressive positions on it, you can say you want guns broadly criminalized, but here's how that's going to fail to confront crime. The reality is X, Y, and Z. I think it's very similar on immigration, is what I would say to the right. You can say you want to just, keep everyone out and have harsh immigration policies. Well, no matter how harsh they are, people get around them. People will go to extreme lengths to get around them because it's human nature to want to come to this country because it's better life. So if you don't want that to happen, and I don't think we do. I don't think anyone wants, even if you don't have sympathy for them, sympathy for our own agents having to open, cars of find dead bodies. We clearly need a more sane immigration policy so that it's easier for people to come here legally without resorting to this option.
Yeah,
we just do.
Yeah, I mean,
it's reality.
Why do you think that has been such a weird sticking point, a more recently developed sticking point for conservatives? To what do you attribute that shift from kind of 80s, 90s level conservatism, which was kind of happy to have migrant workers because of the economic utility of having a low-wage workforce. And it used to be liberals who said, no, this will undermine the social safety net, social programs have competition for working-class Americans. And as the defenders of working-class Americans tended to be more anti-immigration. To what do you attribute that flip? And do you think in this kind of maybe post-Trump era, we might have a resetting to a norm?
I don't know if we're going to have any kind of resetting, and I kind of doubt it. I think it's partly an economic argument, the concern that immigrants are taking jobs from legacy Americans, use that kind of phrase. And no matter how many times that idea is debunked by economists, it's still very popular among some people. And then also there was, I think probably the more, but that always existed to some degree. I think in the post kind of Obama cheering about how there's going to be this permanent progressive majority based on minority voters, I think that scared a lot of people on the right, saying, the more of these kinds of people we bring into this country, we're going to lose power. Our cultural tradition is going to be eroded. All that kind of stuff. Now, all of that stuff turned out to be very wrong, as we're realizing now, because immigrants, minorities, et cetera, are very open to voting and supporting for Republicans and conservatives.
A slight liberal bias disappears after, I think, 1 or 2 generations.
Right. So that was just has not panned out strategically, and that should be good news for the right. They can do outreach to Hispanic communities, especially, and they're kind of pro respect for religion and tradition and anti-socialism. That kind of agenda is very popular with a lot of the people coming here. Yeah. So it was actually bad political advice that they sold themselves, and I think it's going to take a little bit of time for that to trickle out of the system.
Yeah, I think you're right. Ironically, maybe the solution to the immigration fight is to start passing out MAGA hats at the border, and maybe Republicans will be receptive to immigrants.
and probably a lot of them would put them on. They'd say, yes, we love Trump. We're here. It would totally change what some people on the right's view of immigrants is.
Yeah,
but it's true. It's
free policy advice for any takers. I look forward to hearing what's on your radar next, Robby.